Hello everyone, this is Roland. Today I want to talk to you about perfection, what it is. For we humans, perfection is perfect humility and a perfect willingness to know the truth, perfect yearning, if you will, for the truth. Yearning for the Father we've never known. And perfect realizing that you don't know, and realizing that you can't make yourself right. And waiting upon God, perfectly waiting upon God and upon His will. That's perfection. Now, everything that God does is perfect. Have you ever wondered, for example, I've always wondered, for example, with mathematical equations, like, I'll just pick one. I mean, there's so many of them. We'll just say, let's see what would be good. Kinetic energy equals mass times velocity divided by 2. Mass times velocity squared divided by 2. That's what kinetic energy is. Mass times velocity squared divided by 2. But have you ever noticed that when you take and that describes what really happens in the real physical world, the energy that a moving object has, kinetic energy. It describes it perfectly. But have you ever wondered why you can multiply both sides by 2? Or divide both sides by velocity squared? Or divide both sides by mass, and rearrange the items, or move everything over to one side, and then the other side equals 0? Have you ever wondered how you can move the numbers around and it still works? The formula is still good. It's just unbelievable. It's perfect. See? Everything God does is perfect. When we do something, you fix something or you make something, and then there's always some little part of it that's not quite right. There's something wrong, there's some glitch. Little glitch somehow, something not quite right. But everything God does is perfect. There's no glitches. Everywhere you go in the universe, 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? There's no place that you can go in the universe where 1 + 1 suddenly equals 3. Oh my God, there's a glitch here in this place in the universe. There's no such thing. It's absolute perfection. Okay? So now, knowing that, when you are objective, in other words, when you stand back from your own errors, from your own wrong, from your own cesspool of imagination, from your own thinking and planning and scheming and worrying, from your own efforts to huff and puff and make, when you just stand back and observe that objectively, like taking a step back and observing it from the neutral zone, instead of being a part of it, observing it. Okay? When you do that, you're observing in God's light, your consciousness, your awareness, which is your soul, was meant to live in God's light. Then you're observing in God's light. Okay? When you do that, you're no longer a part of the error. You're no longer a part of the worry. You're no longer a part of the scheming. You're no longer a part of the huffing and puffing, or of the symptom, or even of the sickness. You're no longer a part of it. You're standing back and you're observing it in the light. And when you are in that light, and you love that light. Now, remember what we said, perfection for us is not in making things and saying, hey, look what I made. Nothing we ever do is perfect, but everything He does is perfect. So perfection for us is perfectly yearning for Him and for His light and for truth and for understanding. See, that's perfection. When you're standing there and there's some delicate moment with your partner or with your child, okay, And a very delicate moment. You know how there are such moments? Sometimes you can actually sense. You sense it. Okay? And then you stand back and you realize that you don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. You stand there. And you know if you reach into your brain and come up with some answer, it's not going to be right. And so you just stand. You make some pre-planned speech, something that you memorized or heard someone else say. It's not right. It's not perfect. And so you just stand there. And you don't know. And you realize that you don't know. Well, that realizing that you don't know and wanting to know and really and truly wanting to do or say the right thing if anything is required of you, that pure, sincere yearning is answered by God. And then all of a sudden you will know. Or if nothing comes to you, then nothing is what you're supposed to do. Just stand there. But the other person, you know, even your partner or your child, the other person, when they see you there, and they see that you're not reaching for some phony answer, for something to save pride or to make yourself look good, or something to brush them off or to pacify them, or see, you're just standing there, and they see that you honestly don't know what to say. That's very powerful. And then in that moment when you don't know what to say, then maybe something comes to you. If there's something needed to be said, then it'll come to you. Otherwise, just stand there. It's very powerful. Now you see what perfection is. See? Because now what has happened is your ego has become a part. See, here's what happens. You live in an imperfect world. When I say imperfect, not God's creation, but imperfect people. That's it. Imperfect people, imperfect society, imperfect neighborhood, imperfect family, imperfect everything. Workplace, school. Okay? Some are better than others, but nevertheless imperfect. They're all imperfect. And especially people are imperfect. See? Now in the past, what you did is you resented them, or hated them, or tried to change them. See? Or reacted to them with anger, or with upset, with rage, with hurt feelings, see? But what is operating through them is error. See, if they were perfectly aligned with their intuition, with their Creator, then they wouldn't make mistakes anymore. See? But because they're not, see, even as you have not been, they make mistakes. They're error. And error operates through them, which I'll go into that in more detail. I've been writing about it. Okay? But the error operates through them. Let's put it that way. See, another thing is that people are like conduits. People are like conduits for good or for evil. Okay? When you're inclined, your soul is inclined rightly. That's basically the only power that the soul has. The deepest, at the most basic level, the only power the soul has is to incline one way or the other. To incline toward truth or away from it. And depending on that delicate inclination of the soul, everything else unfolds. When the soul, see, when we don't want to know the truth, because we want to be prideful, we want to prove something, we want to resent someone. There's something that's too important to us, something we want, and we don't want to give it up. Or we just don't want to admit we're wrong. Do you know anyone that doesn't want to admit they're wrong? A lot of people, huh? Maybe you had a parent like that. A lot of people never want to admit they're wrong, but fortunately, if you're listening to this video, there's a good chance that you're not one of those types. See, you're willing to admit you're wrong. We'll go into that later. So, when you're inclined rightly, then you're inclined toward the light. And you're a conduit then for good from God, for truth, for patience, for understanding, for wisdom, see, right action, so on. And the healing, see, that comes through understanding and patience in God's light and understanding. So you're a conduit for that. So then you become an extension of Him, of His truth, of His goodness, of His light, of His understanding. See? You become an extension of that, and then everything you do is an extension of that. So when you look to your intuition, see, look within for what to do, realizing that you don't know what to do. You're looking in the right direction, you're inclining in the right direction. So that inclination then toward the good, you become an extension of the good. See? And you're no longer an extension of what's wrong. Now what I had said earlier is that error operates through people. Okay? Prideful people, unaware people, gullible people, angry people, rebellious people, ambitious people. The error then operates through them because their inclination is wrong. And so they incline, so the error comes through them. But when you react to that error, see, when you react to it, and then your behavior is based upon your reaction, fear, anger, excitement, hostility, rage, hurt feelings, whatever, then what you do, what you think, everything becomes an extension of that error. And the error then begins to operate through you, see, especially if you resent it. Let's say someone, I'll just make something up. In their error, they say something unfair and unjust and untrue about you. Well, let's say you react to it, you resent it. And it sticks in your craw. It becomes a memory, doesn't it? And then that memory sticks in your craw. And then from your mind, thinking about it over and over again, why did she say that? Why did he say that? Then you begin to act differently. You have different feelings and different things. And maybe you try to prove something or compensate. Or try to get them to not say it. Or try to get back at them. Or it keeps coming up and you resent seeing it. And you push it under and repress and suppress. But there's anger and unfinished business. See how it's changed you tremendously. Your whole life can change just through one resentment. But think of all the errors that come through people. Wrong ideas, wrong notions about what to do and what to eat and what to say and who to get help from and everything. Wrong, errors. And so everything then, you become an extension of that. Now when you're a little child, if your parents made errors, you're not responsible for that. They took you to the wrong doctor, you got some reaction to something that you were given, or they didn't do the right thing for you. They took you to the wrong school, they put you in the wrong daycare. They made you go stay at some family, babysitter where there was some older kids there that were bad and they did bad things, and all of these errors that your parents made. See, don't resent them. See? It's very important. Don't resent them. But you couldn't help any of that, what happened to you as a little kid. But you see how their error then affected your life. See? So everywhere you go, any reaction to errors, see, it doesn't mean that we need to pretend we don't see the error and just let error proceed on its merry way. No. Error does have to be opposed, but you need to know how to oppose it properly, with truth, with light, not with resentment. See, sometimes you have to take a stand against error, okay, with firmness or sternness, and courage, but not with resentment. See, you have to do it right. But the point is that the errors everywhere operating through, and then the error gets into you. Now, what I want you to see is that everything that comes from the error and everything that evolves from the error and is transferred from the error and is a reaction to error, an emotional reaction, for example, all of those are extensions of the error. Okay? And their basis, when you go back to the very beginning, it began in error. And all your reaction is the latest evolution of the error. That's all. It is. And then you become upset because somebody upset you, and then you turn around and you're cruel to your kid, you're angry at your kids or impatient with them, and then you're transferring it to them if they resent you. You see what I mean? But what comes from good is good. It comes from God and His perfect love, perfect wisdom, perfect mastery. And it's no longer an extension of the error, but an extension of the good. Then you become an extension of good. And the good works its way through you and to others and into your life. And everything you do is touched with understanding and with love and mastery and self-control, which come naturally. Because now you're an extension of that good, you see? So now you see the importance of objectivity and in fact, to the whole human race. You can see Adam's error, ambition, see, reaching for the forbidden fruit, doubting his father, all of these errors that he made. Then he fell from paradise. These errors that come down are transferred from generation to generation. Okay, you are born with a fallen nature that is evidence of Adam's failing, of his error. So you're born gullible, a little bit prideful, with a fallen animal, with an animal nature, and an inclination toward wrong and not toward the truth, and shying away from the truth. That's what you're born with. You can't help it. Okay, but it's all an extension of the lineage of error. See, so error works its way through people. It's transferred. And it's transferred genetically, and psychically, and emotionally. See, transferred in the present, and from and through time, from generation to generation. So you've heard the old expression, "Let the buck stop." The buck stops here. Remember, one president said, "The buck stops here." In other words, see, what you need to do is to see all these errors. Don't hate other people for them, and let the buck stop with you. Okay? Meditate now to find a new way, a better way. What you need is a new nature. And this new nature will develop and unfold and evolve from a new attachment, a new basis, a new beginning in the truth and in God's light, in love, instead of in error. See? That's why Christ said we need to be born again, born of good, born of God, instead of born of the lineage of error.